The lights were perfect, the crowd was deafening, but Camila Cabello couldn't hear a single sound. She stood at the center of the stage in São Paulo, surrounded by 80,000 screaming fans, yet the world around her had gone completely impossibly silent. Her lips moved, the music played, but her voice, her own voice, felt like it belonged to someone else. Then, for just a fraction of a second, every single person in the audience stopped moving. Not a breath, not a blink. Not a single phone screen flickering in the darkness. Camila froze. Her heart pounded so violently she thought it would crack her ribs. And then, from somewhere deep in the crowd, she heard it. A whisper, clear as glass, cutting through the silence. "You don't belong here anymore." The lights exploded back to life. The crowd erupted, the moment passed. But Camila knew something had broken inside her. That night, back in her hotel room, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same image. A village, hidden in fog with crooked stone houses and narrow dirt roads. She had never been there. But somehow, she knew it was waiting for her. When Camila woke up the next morning, something was terribly wrong. On her left wrist was a bracelet, silver, old, engraved with symbols she didn't recognize. She stared at it, her breath catching in her throat. She had never seen it before. She had gone to bed without it. She tried to pull it off. It wouldn't move. Panic set in. She called her assistant, her manager, her closest friends. No one had put it there. No one had been in her room. But when she looked closer at the bracelet, she noticed something engraved on the inside. Coordinates. Without thinking, without even understanding why, Camila canceled everything. The tour, the interviews, the meetings. She told no one where she was going. She booked a private car and followed the coordinates deep into the mountains of Colombia, far from any city, far from any place she'd ever known. The road twisted through dense jungle. The air grew colder. The sky darkened even though it was midday. And then she saw it. The village from her dream. The village had no name, no signs, no people in the streets. But Camila could feel them hidden behind windows, watching from doorways, breathing just out of sight. She walked slowly through the narrow stone streets, her footsteps echoing against the walls. Every house looked the same, small, crumbling, covered in vines that seemed to pulse with life. At the center of the village was a well, ancient, covered in strange carvings. And from deep inside it, Camila heard something that made her blood run cold. Singing, not just any singing. Her own voice, her own songs, but sung in a language she didn't know, by a voice that sounded like hers but wrong. She stepped closer to the well. The singing stopped. And then from behind her, a voice, soft, ancient, female, "You came back." Camila spun around. Standing in the doorway of one of the houses was an old woman, her face hidden in shadow, her eyes reflecting light like an animal's. I've never been here before," Camila stammered. The old woman smiled. "Not in this life." The old woman led Camila through the village, past houses that seemed to shift and breathe, past windows where faces appeared and vanished in an instant. They arrived at a church, massive, stone, covered in moss and shadows, but there were no doors. "How do we get in?" Camila whispered. The old woman didn't answer. She simply pressed her hand against the stone wall and it opened. Inside, the air was thick and cold, candles burned without flames, shadows moved without bodies casting them. And at the center of the church was a staircase, spiraling down. Endless. "This is where you'll find the answer," the old woman said, "but every step you take will cost you something." "Cost me what?" Camila asked, her voice shaking. The old woman's smile widened. "A piece of who you were." Camila descended. With every step, the world around her changed. The walls shifted, time folded, voices whispered her name, names she'd never been called. She saw herself as a child, but not the child she remembered. She saw herself on stages she'd never performed on. She saw herself dying in ways she'd never died. And with every step, the bracelet on her wrist grew tighter. At the bottom of the staircase, she found a door. Behind it, a concert hall. Empty, silent, except for one thing, the audience. They sat in rows, perfectly still, their faces pale and expressionless, and every single one of them looked exactly like her. Camila stepped onto the stage. The moment her foot touched the wood, every version of herself in the audience turned to look at her. They spoke in unison, their voices layered, echoing inhuman. "Who are you?" Camila opened her mouth to answer, but no sound came out. She tried again. Nothing. The audience began to stand one by one, moving toward the stage. Their eyes were hollow. Their smiles were too wide. And then, from the back of the hall, the old woman appeared. "You cannot answer," she said, "because you are not one person. You are every version, every life, every choice, every fear." Camila fell to her knees. "Then who am I really?" The old woman knelt beside her, her voice soft, almost kind. "You are the dreams someone else is having, and when they wake up, you will disappear."